Imagine a world where the most powerful nation on Earth didn't exist. Just a wild, untamed coastline, a blank slate for a radical new idea. This is the story of how 13 small, bickering colonies, huddled on the edge of a continent, defied an empire and grew into a global superpower that would shape the destiny of the entire world. But this wasn't a straight line to the top. It was a story forged in fire, rebellion, and a relentless belief in a concept that was revolutionary for its time: freedom. Our story begins in the 17th century. English settlers, driven by dreams of wealth, religious freedom, and a new life, crossed the treacherous Atlantic. They established colonies like Jamestown in Virginia, seeking gold, and Plymouth in Massachusetts, seeking God. Life was brutal. Starvation, disease, and conflict with Native American tribes were constant threats. Yet they persevered, carving out a new society from the wilderness. Each colony developed a unique identity. From the tobacco plantations of the South, built on the backs of enslaved Africans, to the bustling trade ports of the North. They were British subjects, but an ocean away, a new identity was slowly taking root, an American one. For over a century, the colonies grew under the relatively light hand of British rule. But in the mid-18th century, things began to change. The costly French and Indian War, fought on American soil, left Britain with massive debt. To pay it off, London looked to its colonies. A series of taxes like the Stamp Act and the Townshend Acts were imposed without the colonists' consent. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry. Tensions boiled over in the streets of Boston. The Boston Massacre and the Boston Tea Party weren't just protests. They were sparks in a powder keg. The British responded with force, shutting down Boston's port and stripping away local self-government. The message was clear: obey or be crushed. For the colonists, a choice had to be made. On a hot summer day in 1776 in Philadelphia, delegates from the 13 colonies made that choice. They adopted the Declaration of Independence, a document that would echo through history. Penned by Thomas Jefferson, it declared that all men are created equal, with rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was a direct challenge to the very idea of monarchy and empire, but words on paper don't win wars. A long, brutal conflict, the American Revolution, followed. Against all odds, the ragtag Continental Army, led by the steadfast George Washington, faced the mightiest military machine in the world. With crucial help from France, they endured defeat and bitter winters to achieve a stunning victory at Yorktown. The world was shocked. A new nation was born. Winning the war was one thing. Building a nation was another. The first attempt, the Articles of Confederation, was a failure. The new country was weak and divided. So in 1787, the Founding Fathers met again, this time to forge a new government. The result was the U.S. Constitution, a brilliant and enduring blueprint for a republic. It established a system of checks and balances, with a president, a Congress, and a Supreme Court, designed to prevent any one part from becoming too powerful. It was a grand experiment in self-government, a beacon of hope for a world ruled by kings. With George Washington as its first president, the United States set sail on a journey into the unknown. The 19th century was a period of explosive growth. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the size of the country overnight. Fueled by the idea of manifest destiny, The belief that America was divinely ordained to expand across the continent pioneers. Traders and settlers pushed west. They followed the Oregon Trail, sought gold in California, and settled the vast plains. But this westward expansion came at a terrible cost. It led to the forced removal of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands, a tragic chapter of violence and broken treaties. The nation was growing, but it was built on a foundation of conquest and displacement, a deep contradiction to its founding ideals of liberty. As America grew, a dark shadow loomed larger: slavery. The nation was split in two. The industrial North, with a growing abolitionist movement, and the agrarian South, whose economy depended entirely on the labor of enslaved people. Compromises were made, but they only delayed the inevitable. The election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, who opposed the expansion of slavery, was the final straw. Southern states seceded, forming the Confederacy. The Civil War erupted, the bloodiest conflict in American history. It was a war that tore families and the nation apart, a brutal test of whether a nation conceived in liberty could endure. After 4 devastating years, the Union was preserved, and slavery was abolished with the 13th Amendment. The period of Reconstruction that followed was an attempt to rebuild the South and integrate 4 million newly freed African Americans into society. It was a time of great hope, but also of fierce resistance. While new amendments granted citizenship and voting rights, a system of segregation and racial violence soon emerged, ensuring that the promise of equality remained unfulfilled for another century. The war had settled the question of union, but the struggle for the nation's soul was far from over. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw another transformation. America entered the Gilded Age, a period of rapid industrialization. Titans of industry like Carnegie, Rockefeller, and Ford built vast empires in steel, oil, and automobiles. Millions of immigrants from Europe and Asia poured into the country, seeking work and a better life, fueling the factories and building the cities. New York, Chicago, and Pittsburgh became towering symbols of this new industrial might. America was becoming an economic powerhouse, a nation of inventors and innovators. The world was taking notice. The quiet republic was now a major player on the global stage. The 20th century would test this new power. America initially remained neutral in World War I, but was eventually drawn into the conflict, tipping the balance and helping secure an Allied victory. 2 decades later, the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941 plunged the nation into World War II. The country transformed into the arsenal of democracy, its factories churning out an incredible volume of ships, planes, and tanks. American forces fought across Europe and the Pacific. The war culminated in the use of atomic bombs, ushering in a new, terrifying age and cementing America's status as a military superpower. From the ashes of World War II, a new global conflict emerged: the Cold War. It was an ideological struggle between the democratic United States and the communist Soviet Union. For decades, the two superpowers faced off in a tense standoff, competing for influence across the globe. From the Korean and Vietnam Wars to the space race that put a man on the moon, the ever-present threat of nuclear annihilation loomed over the world. When the Berlin Wall fell in 1989 and the Soviet Union collapsed 2 years later, America was left as the world's sole superpower, the undisputed leader of a new global order. From 13 colonies to a global colossus, the rise of America is a story of breathtaking ambition, profound contradiction, and constant reinvention. A nation born from an idea that ordinary people could govern themselves and chart their own destiny. It's a story of freedom and slavery, of immense opportunity and tragic injustice. A story that continues to unfold today as America navigates the challenges of the 21st century. What do you think is the most important lesson from America's history? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching Tales of Secret Wisdom, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into the past.